This is a really clever movie. You know, I would never expect to be sitting in Karate Kid Legends and be wondering who wrote and directed this. Yet there I was, because the way this movie is put together is extremely clever. Here's the writer and director. You would never expect them to be able to deliver a movie like this based on their past work. And I don't know if they ever will again. But something magical happened here. It's very, very good. The idea to focus not just on karate and kung fu, but also throw boxing in there, which, what do you know, is a martial art. You learn something new every day. And then give the story the Rocky Creed treatment, only with kung fu and karate, because boxing is also a martial art. But that is just a really excellent idea. You know what else the movie reminds me of? Now, are you familiar with the American Girl dolls? Now, stay with me here. You're like, don't you put American Girls on this movie? Just listen to what I'm saying. So there are the historical dolls, of course, but they have modern ones too. And the idea is that each girl reflects a specific culture and interest, and she has a specific skill set and often finds herself in a new place or with new circumstances, and we get to know her family and see her struggles and her victories at like a child-teen level, and there are often important messages involved, and you learn educational things as well. This is the boy version of that. Meet Li Fong. He has just moved from Beijing, I think he was from, to New York City with his mother. And let's see if he makes any new friends. Oh, it's great. And he was dealing also, by the way, in the movie with some very serious circumstances that I think that for a family film were handled very well. Now, while I feel this film is fantastic for kids, that doesn't mean adults can't enjoy it as well. Because what, do you have no joy? But also, I mean, the movie, it's complex. It doesn't talk down to kids. And as I said, it has really great life lessons. And you should always be open to learning. But I really do think that if it's a wonderful movie for children and teenagers to go see. Now, I've seen some Cobra Kai fans upset. Like, I tweeted out that I really like. Well, I didn't want to totally give away my review. So I said last night that you should buy tickets. And some people are like, where's Cobra Kai characters? This movie's garbage. But look what happened when they put the Disney Plus characters in Marvel. Don't you want Karate Kid Legends to do well? I'd say that as popular as that Netflix series is, I've watched a couple of episodes, but I couldn't really get into it. Sorry, I'm not a hardcore Karate Kid fan, and I still like this movie, which I think goes to show how, well, we'll see. You know, does it strike just the right balance so it can appeal to everybody? But I think most people, while they know Danny LaRusso and Mr. Miyagi from the 1980s movies, they aren't familiar with the Cobra Kai characters, and that just would have been as confusing as it is in the Marvel movies. There is a little treat for Cobra Kai fans in a post-credit scene, which is leaked, and I'm sure someone will share down or spoil down below, but it's still fun even if you know what it is. I had seen the leak, and I still enjoyed it. Also, of course, many people are familiar with the 2010 version with Jackie Chan. That was fantastic. And this film does an excellent job of pulling all of those iconic Karate Kid films together, but still at the same time being its own thing. Something else some of you asked me was, do you have to have seen any of the other Karate Kid movies to enjoy this one? Nope, you can walk in cold. And guess who's in this movie? Joshua Jackson. I am a big Joshua Jackson fan. Interestingly, never watched Dawson's Creek, but I discovered him later on in his career. I love the actor that he's become. It started with The Affair. Then he had a small role in A Little Fires Everywhere, but he was great. I had a friend who had never seen The Affair and was like, who's this guy? And I was like, I know. And then he was fantastic in Dr. Death. What a series. That was so good. And then, of course, I even enjoyed him in the Fatal Attraction remake. In my opinion, better than the presumed Innocent remake, although I think both were good, pulpy fun. I like Joshua Jackson. You like Joshua Jackson? Did we just become best friends? Yup! So why not subscribe to this channel? So yeah, he's not only in this movie, but he has a pretty big supporting role. And I was super surprised when he appeared on the screen at the press screening that Sony has not, I haven't seen him in any of the advertisements for this film. I've seen some of the trailers. I don't believe he was in any of them because I think I would have noticed. He's not on the main poster, he's on this one. But I think he's more of a selling point than Sony realizes. So not only does he bring boxing into the film as a former boxer who's getting back into the ring, but he also owns a pizza shop. Oh, and beware, they eat so much pizza in this movie. I was like, I should have gotten pizza when I was sitting there. Yeah, I mean, you'll take any pizza, even movie theater pizza. I mean, movie theater pizza can be okay, but they just have pizza constantly in this movie. They're serving it throughout the film. So make sure when you plan, I actually did go get some pizza after the film. So when you make your plans to go and watch Karate Kid Legends, make sure the pizza is a part of those plans. They even have like this Pizza Hut promotion apparently. Again, any pizza, take any pizza. But yeah, you'll definitely be craving pizza by the end of this movie. Also, Joshua Jackson's character had such a cozy little pizza shop. I would go there if it actually existed. I was like, that's a nice pizza shop. And I'm surprised overall at how authentic this movie is to depicting Lower Manhattan. Movies often get it wrong or they idealize it a little bit too much, which is fun, of course, but it is rare to be like, this is what it exactly feels like to be in these locations, and the movie captures that perfectly. Our story takes place in the part of downtown Manhattan where you have Chinatown and Little Italy right next to each other, so that's why throwing pizza in there works. It's great. And Karate Kid Legends does an excellent job of capturing life and community in these neighborhoods and how they do overlap. Oh, it's great. On that note, New York City offers up diverse experiences. It doesn't have the same uniform quality that a lot of other cities and towns tend to have, particularly, I would say, in the United States. But, I do believe that New York City is our most European, maybe even, New Orleans too, to a degree, but our most European city. And a nice element of the Five Boroughs Championship that's featured in the film is that there's a fight in each borough, which gives each borough a quick, fleeting chance, but a chance nonetheless to represent. And then they have the final fight on top of a skyscraper. And I know where that skyscraper is. I was like, I can identify that. That's a real skyscraper. I think that's really cool. But it made me wonder, can you have a martial arts fight that high up in the air with the winds that are up there? I mean, Lee's hair was blowing in the wind, his bangs, and I was like, I don't know if you should still do that kick, man. What if you get blown off the building? I mean, the winds weren't that strong, but you never know when a gust is going to come along. Any martial arts fighters here watching? Is it realistic to hold a martial arts championship on top of a skyscraper? Speaking of a sense of community, one of the things that I really like about this film that surprised me was that it created a community of family martial arts films by, not only featuring, of course, Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan, but Mulan is here, as well as, who this is? Live action Kim Possible. Wow, the casting director really outdid themselves here. It's fun to see them all together. Then also, again with community, karate is from Japan and kung fu is from China. Two countries, by the way, that have not gotten along for decades at this point. Ip Man, a fantastic series of films, really highlights that. I love those movies. I feel those movies are very reminiscent of the Bing Crosby Going My Way and Bells of St. Mary's films. But anyway, so to see those two styles of martial arts working together, two branches, one tree, as the movie says, is quite meaningful, especially if you know that history. But then to include boxing and be like, come on over here, Western martial arts, you can be in here, you can be in the group photo too, is really, really nice. Boxing originated in the UK, but I think it's very heavily tied at this point to American culture. So again, it's brilliant, and I'm going to explain to you in a minute just exactly why it's so effective. So the film weaves together not only all three styles of martial arts, but how the stories are often told. So in every of these stories, there's always the importance of the trainer and the fighter. But they have the philosophical elements of karate and kung fu stories, but then also the working class struggles of a boxing movie. So that's a great combination here. And I think this helps to make the film bridge the culture gap really effectively. Like, I've seen a lot of kung fu and karate movies at this point. I'm sure many of you have as well. But for some reason here, I found it more accessible than ever before, because I don't think I've ever seen a movie truly try to explain kung fu and karate, well, particularly kung fu, because that's the main discipline for Li Fong, but to explain that in an American context. Very often it's like, come over here, totally come over to our side. But it's like, no, I'm going to come over there. And they use the pizza shop as a backdrop for Victor to learn these things. For instance, Lee says that, when you study Kung Fu, it's a part of everything that you do in life, no matter how small. And then he shows how that applies to the pizza shop. And I was like, oh, like I've heard that mantra in other contexts, but it always seemed like a faraway idea. And I think that this film, particularly for Western audiences, really makes it more accessible and brings it home. And then with the boxing storytelling tropes, I think also it allows you to become, again, make it even, and I'll be curious how Eastern audiences relate to this. Maybe they'll find the Western components make a classic story for them that feels homegrown, feel more exotic. Obviously this film is designed to play in China hopefully very effectively. But for instance, when Lee walks into the Five Boroughs Championship in the finale with his crew, like in a boxing movie heading to the ring, but it's for karate and kung fu, that was a really striking choice. Now, also, as I said, this film has great messages. Karate Kid as a franchise has always been about standing up to bullies. However, in the earlier Karate Kid films, I'm trying to put this as delicately as possible because I know some of you are hardcore Karate Kid fans, but to me at least, the martial arts always seem more performative, like a display of martial arts abilities rather than a real fight. So the fights that were shown and the way to handle a bully almost seem like, oh, that's nice in theory, but I don't know if it would actually work in real life. Here, though, the fights, the hits feel very real. And newcomer Ben Wang is an experienced martial artist, and with some very impressive moves, by the way. So you actually feel like you could use martial arts in a modern, real context. Again, it becomes accessible. Accessible, I feel that's the key. It should be almost like Karate Kid accessible, for this movie. They also add some really nice video game style graphics to like punch up the film here and there. And I think that's not only fun, but effective. And of course, martial arts are a big part of a lot of video games. So they tie every way that martial arts are a part of your life and some of the ways they highlight that you wouldn't maybe think of. I also appreciate how this film addresses that bullies don't always play fair. And that's not only wrong, but incredibly dangerous, and sometimes they get away with it. Old school Hollywood, even the 80s was usually like, don't worry, the bully will get his. And here they were like, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he lives his bully life very happily. At one point in the film, Lee says his bully is like facing a tiger, and how on earth could you possibly fight a tiger? And I think that Sensei LaRusso, his answer is not only very clever, but I feel very doable. So it feels like a helpful suggestion. It's not like, oh, just stand up to him. And you're like, well, thanks, but that's not really going to work. You were like, oh, that's actually good advice. And if you want to know what it is, you're going to have to see the movie. Karate Kid Legends doesn't focus on idealism, but instead focuses on navigating realistic situations and setting realistic expectations. And I really respected the film for that. I also appreciate, on the same note, that Lee is not perfect. He's not a Gary Stu. He messes up in his fights and he messes up in life. Some of his mistakes are catastrophic and devastating. Really, really interesting. There is one great line about, the exact moment in your life that it changed forever. And it's addressed in both positive and negative ways. And I thought that was very effective. And I think that makes him not only a great character for younger viewers because they see someone who messes up but yet perseveres. Here's another great line. Jackie Chan says, you can't help life knocking you down, but what you can control is how quickly and that you do get up. And I was like, I needed to hear that, Jackie Chan. Thank you. Because that's the thing. Even though, a movie with life lessons is really good for younger viewers, we all need to still keep getting this advice because it doesn't get any easier when you're an adult. I really like Ben Wang. So much, in fact, that I looked him up. I was like, who is this guy? He's awesome. So it turns out he was born in China, but at a very early age, his family moved him to the United States where he grew up. But he still feels very authentic to China. During the opening of the film that takes place in China, it's very, sometimes Hollywood will be like, this actor has heritage, and family from the region. And you're like, it still doesn't seem authentic. Ben Wang feels authentic. And also in the early sequences, they make China, I think, feel, again, modern and accessible. You know, Hollywood often will try and make other countries seem like exotic foreign lands. And, you know, again, which can be fun. But I appreciated that they showed more, again, how we're all more alike than different. I guess that's a good way to kind of describe the film a little bit. There was also a little girl at the beginning of the film who is adorable. Wang has mostly worked with Disney so far, and in fact, Destin Daniel Cretton cast him as the star of his Disney Plus show that you might recall. Didn't last very long, but at least it got Ben Wang one step further, and look where he's ended up. He is an excellent martial artist, but I think that his smaller, slimmer build makes him unique as an on-screen fighter because he still has all the powerful moves. He's, in fact, an excellent fighter. But you know, it doesn't, again, it seems accessible. You're like, he's pretty good, but yet not too different perhaps from you. So maybe you could do martial arts if you made the effort. I mean, I thought it was really cool. He's also very likable, and I think his career is really going to just keep picking up momentum. And he already has some really big roles lined up after this. He's in the upcoming Stephen King adaptation, The Long Walk, and he also just landed a role in the new Hunger Games movie. I cannot say enough good things about Ben Wang. Sadie Stanley does a very nice job as Joshua Jackson's daughter and the love interest for Lee. There was definitely a spark between them. And of course, Ralph Macchio, Ming-Na Wen, and Jackie Chan are all pros. But Jackie Chan's persona really envelops this movie, let's say. Not only from his trademark aggressive positivity. He's very good. He has a pretty good role. But I mean, it's definitely Ben Wang's movie. But I think, Jackie Chan is used very effectively here. I liked him a lot here. But also, he, of course, is known for his comedic style of martial arts. And I thought it was nice that in one or two scenes, Ben Wang did his own take on that as well. And yes, that's Stanley from the It movies as Lee's tutor. It was driving me crazy who he was when I was watching the movie. I was like, where do I know that guy from? Finally, I gotta give a shout out to Aramis Knight, who plays the bully in the film, which is so often a thankless role in family films. Well, let's say, kind of thankless, but certainly difficult. Because you have to be menacing, but you don't want to seem ridiculous because the audience knows that since this is a family film, the bully can only go so far. But Aramis Knight makes it work. I think partially because the film lets him be more menacing than you would expect in a family film. His character is genuinely dangerous. But also he's an excellent martial artist himself. So he can cash the checks that his bully is writing. So I think the character actually worked out well. So while I thought the trailers for this movie looked good, there's been some negative word of mouth percolating because it's opened in some overseas countries, outside of the United States already. And so that negative word of mouth got to me before I saw it, and I was like, I don't believe it. The trailers look good. And so I saw the movie, and I think the movie is even better than the trailers. I actually liked it even more than I anticipated I would. I personally feel it's worth seeing in theaters, particularly if you like sports movies or if you're interested in, clever filmmaking. I think it's worth seeing how they take the Hollywood sports movie formula and apply it to a karate kung fu movie. That's really cool to see. But I mean, of course, if you don't want to see it in theaters down the line, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised if you decide to watch it at home. Just whenever you see it, don't forget the pizza. So that's my review of Karate Kid Legends first hitting theaters this weekend. Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.